Hey, hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about SCD2, which is a slowly changing dimension type 2. I have already created a video on SCD1. If you want to watch that video, the link is in comment section. Now, before understanding SCD type 2, let's try to do a recap for SCD1. Let me take an example of employee table again, which is having three column ID, name, and location. For example, ID is 1, employee name is Sanjay, his location is India. So let me create a corresponding target table. So in the target table also, we are having the same number of columns. We can obviously have audit columns over here, but for the sake of simplicity, let's not consider them for now. So because this is a brand new record, it will get inserted as is in the target table. Location is India. Now let's assume after some time, maybe 1 year, 6 months, or whatever it is, location of Sanjay got changed from India to UK. He got promoted and he's going to UK. Now we will do a comparison between a source and target record on the basis of primary key, and in this case, the primary key is ID. So what we will identify is one of our attribute of this person has got changed, which is location, right? Earlier he was in India, now he is got transferred to UK location. So instead of creating a new record for this UK location, what we are going to do is we are going to update the previous record with the new location, right? Now let's assume after some time, he again got transferred to US location. Then again, instead of creating a new record, we are going to replace the UK with US information. So now, if I will ask you one question that prior to the US, in which location Sanjay was working, you will not be able to answer me that question because here we are not maintaining any what? We are not maintaining any history, right? That's why we are not able to answer this question. Now, if you want to answer that question, you will have to implement SCD type 2, where what we do is we maintain the history. This is how, this is what we need to learn in this tutorial. Now, let's try to understand what is SCD2. So what I will do is I'll take the same example for that employee. Let's say we have ID, name, and then location. And then in the target table, again, I have the same column, ID, name, and location. All right. So ID is 1, Sanjay, he's currently working in India. So because this is a brand new record, it will be a direct insert. When I say brand new record, that means this record does not exist in target table. Okay, target table. Location will be India. Now, as we have just discussed that in SCD2, we need to maintain the history of a record. Now we need to understand that using these three columns, we cannot maintain the history. We have to have some additional column, then only the history will make some sense, right? If I will, for example, let's say I'm not maintaining any column and any extra column other than these three columns, and let's say Sanjay got transferred from India to UK. So what you're going to do is you do not want to update this information because you want to maintain a history. Then what you're going to do, you are going to insert a new record, and now you will say that, hey, see, I am maintaining a history over here. Now I can tell you that Sanjay has worked on India and UK. But let me tell you, here you will not be able to answer which is the current location for Sanjay, right? And which is the current location and where he was working prior to that current location. So to maintain those information, we have to have some different kind of a column which will tell me out of these two record, which is an active record and which is a non-active record or deactive record, right? So for those information, what we're going to do is we're going to have three column. One is start date, another one is end date, and one more column active flag. Okay. So start date. What start date will contain? Let's try to understand. The time, the day on which you have inserted that particular record, start date will become that date. For example, let's assume that today is 1st of January 2023. Then start date will become 2023-0101. Now, what will be the end date? Now, end date, what this column represents? This column represents the validity of this particular record. By validity, I mean at what point of time Sanjay is going to change his location, or at what point of time his location will change. Now, when we were inserting this record, we were not sure at that moment when is going to get transferred to another location. It was not at all definite. Because this was not definite, we cannot determine it at this point of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep end date to some future date, which is never going to come very easily or very soon, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep end date as 99990101. So definitely it is a date in the future, which is never going to come very soon. Active flag. So active flag, what we're going to do is we're going to represent one for active record and deactive record is going to get represented via 0. So because let's assume this time, this at this instant, this record is not present, okay? So just forget about it. At this moment, when I'm inserting this first record, this is my active record, right? So active flag will be 1, representing that this is my active record. Now let's assume this second scenario that the location of Sanjay got changed from India to UK. So what we're going to do is, in this case, we are going to close this record. Okay. We are going to do two things. We are going to close old record and we are going to open a new record. What do I mean by that? Now let's try to understand over here. So previous record we are going to close. When I say we are going to close, that means the end date of that particular record will get updated. Let's assume this particular record in the source table, it came on 31st of July 2023. Okay. That means what we're going to do is we are going to close the previous record by current date minus one date. So we will say that till 30th of July 2023, Sanjay was working in India location till 30th of July because today is 31st. So we will say till 30th of July he was working in India and his active flag will become 0 because now this record is no more an active record. This contains old information. That's why it became deactivated. Now we have to open a new record. We have already closed one. We need to open the corresponding record. So for that, the ID will be 1, Sanjay, and location will be UK. Sanjay, location will be UK. Start date will definitely be the current date. So in this case, the current date is 31st of July. It will be 2023, July 23, sorry, 31. And end date will again, it will become 9999. Now by this time, you must be having this understanding why we are keeping it as 999. Okay. And this record will be active record now. So what do we say? This is a closed record and this is a open record. Now let's say again on let's say 4th of April 2024, this guy again got transferred from UK to US. So again, what we're going to do is we are going to close the latest record, which is this in this case. This is the latest record. We are going to close it. So it will be getting closed by this date, 4th of April 2024 minus one date. So it will become 3rd of April. So this information will get updated with 2024 04 and 03, 3rd of April. And earlier it was active. We will make it as deactive. And we're gonna close one. We're gonna open its corresponding record now. So it will be like this: one Sanjay US, and the date will be start date will be 2023 April 04, and it will again become 9990101, and it will become the active record. So this time now this is the active record. So what we have understood so far is, let me summarize it, and you have to remember it. Then only you will be able to always remember this logic. So SCD1, in SCD1 what do we do? Either we do insert for brand new record, or we do a update for a existing record, or I would say overwrite. We overwrite the previous information with latest information. In SCD2, what do we do is, for brand new record, we do a insert, and for update, we do two things. In update scenario, we do two things. We close the old record and we open corresponding. So just remember this corresponding word. Let me write it completely. Corresponding. And we open the corresponding new record. Now you need to remember, we are doing three operations over here. Insert, then close. Close means we are doing an update. This is our second operation. So this is insert is our first operation. Then we are doing an update. This will be our second operation. Then open. Open correspond to again insert. So this will be our third operation. These three operations we need to implement via code for SCD type 2. Now we have understood a lot of theoretical part of it. Let's quickly jump to the practical section and try to understand it. How does it actually behave? Okay. So for that, I'm going to take again the same table, which is employee source. Let me drop and recreate it. I'm just making sure that this table does not exist already in my system. So I've created my source table, which is having ID, first name, last name, and location. Now I have corresponding employee target table. Let me drop if it is already existing in my system and now recreate it. All right. Now let's do one thing and see the structure of these two tables. So you can see the first four columns are common. Next three columns are start date, end date, and active flag, which we have already discussed. So I was checking in SQL Server, there were no flag or Boolean data type. So that's why I'm using a bit data type in order to denote active flag. Bit only contains either 1 or 0. Okay. And for 1, we will denote it as active record. 0, that means it is a deactive record. Okay. So now we know the structure of our source and target. Let me try to insert two new records in my source table. And again, check how does it look like. So I have two records now where I have employee ID 1, 2, John Doe and Jane Smith, New York and Los Angeles. These are the information we have. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, in order to implement the scenario, which we have discussed in OneNote, that we need to identify if there are some record in my table which got changed. So in order to identify that, let me create one temporary table. So it is not necessary that you have to create a temporary table. You can create one table, but which is not temporary, but make sure that you need to drop it again. I'm using a temporary table in SQL Server because once we close the session, this table will no longer exist. So it is a good practice that for such kind of a scenario, you maintain a temporary table. Now, what do we have in temporary table? Actually, I have not told you. So in this temporary table, what I'm going to store is I'm going to insert those IDs which are eligible for a update scenario. So for in this case, when it was 31st of July 2023, where Sanjay again came back with a new information, that means this time this record got eligible for an update scenario. So these IDs, right? ID equal to 1, I'm going to store over here in my change record. Okay. So it will only tell me the information of those records which got changed. All right. So let's do one thing and try to run this command. What it's going to do is it is going to insert change record into my this temporary table. And let's try to understand the query first. So what we're doing over here is we are doing a join between a target table and source table. This is my source table. This is my target table. Definitely the join will be on the basis of our employee ID column. This is our primary key. So the join will be based on our primary key column. But there will be one more condition that we need to only check the active record from targets. So that's why we will have an additional condition while doing a join that, okay, employee ID of source is matching with employee ID of a target. But at the same time, we are making sure that we are only comparing in the target table for those records where the active flag is 1, right? So what I'm trying to say is, let's assume this scenario. Here I have 3 record for Sanjay, 1, 2, and 3. So when I will do this comparison, I would only like to compare my source record with this third record because first and second record is already closed, deactive. They are of no use for me for doing this comparison. So I'm going to compare only that record where active flag is equal to 1. And that's why you will see this additional condition over here. Okay, so now we need to identify, is there any column which has got changed from the previous time? So that's why what we're going to do is we're going to check each and every column. If that first name of that person got changed, or last name of that person got changed, or location of that person got changed. So whatever columns we have in our table, other than primary key, we are going to compare all rest of the column if they have got changed or not. If any of a single column has been changed, that means there is some change in the record and we need to track it. And that's why we are having this temporary table. Okay. So I hope by now you must have understood what we are doing in this query. Let me try to insert it and 0 rows affected. Let's quickly do a confirmation and run our query on source, target, and our temporary table. So here we can see we do not have any record in target and temporary table. All right. Now what we need to do is, let me again go back to OneNote. Now we need to do our operation 1, which is an insert of brand new record. So in order to insert a brand new record, we need to do a join between employee table and, sorry, the source table and target table on the basis of primary key. So as part of this join, what we are checking? We are checking if target employee ID is null. That means if we do not have that record in target. If no, that means we need to insert that record. And that's what we are doing in this query. There is one thing to note, because this is a brand new record condition, in start date, as we have already discussed, we need to insert current date. In SQL Server, in order to get a current date, we have a get date function, and the same function I'm using for storing start date. And end date, as we have discussed, it will be a very long date or future date. So that's why we are inserting 9999. And active flag will remain 1 because this is an active record. Let me try to run this command, and 2 record got inserted. Now quickly check how our source table and target table look like. And as expected, these 2 records were brand new and they got inserted with this information where the start date is the current date, end date is the future date, and active flag is 1, which denotes an active record. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to perform operation number 2 and operation number 3, where we need to close the old record and open the corresponding new record. Okay, so for that, this is the condition we have. We are going to make a join between our target table and change record table, definitely on the basis of our employee ID. And again, we are going to compare only the active record in the target table. Okay. If that is an active record and there is some change in that record, what we're going to do is we are going to close that record by updating its end date with current day minus 1, and we will make it active flag to 0. So this is what we have done over here, right? Earlier the active flag was 1, we have updated it to 0. And again, the earlier the end date was 9999, we have updated it with current date minus 1. In this case, the current date was 4th of April 2024. Okay, so this is the update command. For that we need to close the old record. 0 row got affected because obviously we do not have any change record at this particular point of time. But when we will discuss the second scenario, you will see how this is behaving. Now again, let me try to run it just to show you that nothing has got changed. Because, okay, now we need to do the operation number 3, which is opening the corresponding new record to the record which we have closed earlier as part of operation 2. Okay, so in order to perform this third operation, we have to use this query where we are going to insert those records which got changed, right? So what we have to do is, as we have already updated their corresponding record, now we have to insert their corresponding record. For that, we have this query where what we are doing is in source, we are checking those employee ID which are present in change records. Okay. So let me try to run it. And as expected, there will be no row will get affected. Okay, let's see the final picture again. So as we have discussed, this was the very first time we were loading our target table. That's why there were no record present in the change records. And that's why nothing has happened in operation 2 and in operation 3. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let me simulate one scenario because today is 31st of July only. Let me try to update this first record with this information. What I'm doing is earlier the record of John was having started as 2023-07-31. I have updated it for with 2019-01-01 just for giving a demo how we're gonna close this record and how we're gonna open the corresponding new record because I was having no other choice but to update this record. That's why I've done it. I hope you're not getting confused. Okay, now let's do one thing. In order to simulate that update scenario, let me truncate the source table and insert two records where we are having one record which is coming with some updation. Earlier, John was working with in Los Angeles. Now he got transferred to London location and with new record also. Here we have a new record with employee ID 3 for Sanjay. So this time source table contain one update record and one brand new record. Let me insert it and let's quickly again check how our source table and target table look like. So here we can see that information of employee ID 1 has really got changed. Sorry, it was not Los Angeles, it was New York. So earlier John was working in New York. Now he got transferred to London. So we can clearly see that this is a case of updation where we are going to close this record and open its corresponding new record. Employee ID 3 is a brand new insert. So it is going to insert as a new record. All right. Now our code will again start from that temporary table which we have created in order to identify the change record. Let me go to that table. Here we have. Let me drop this table first. All right, and create it again. This table only contain employee ID, guys, because I do not wanted to unnecessarily create extra columns. So that's why I've only kept employee ID because this was only of my use. Now, we need to identify if there is any new record came in from the source or not. So for that, we have discussed this query. Let me run it. And this time I'm expecting that one record will definitely get qualified because the information has got changed from New York to London. Let me run this command and let's check how our table look like. So here you can see that in change record, we have captured that employee ID where the information has got changed. Now we are going to use this information in step number 2 and in step number 3. This information is of no use in step number 1 or operation number 1. So now let's do a insert for brand new record. In our case, employee ID 3 is a brand new record. So here again, what we are checking, we are inserting those records which are not there in target table. T.employee is null. What does it mean? It means that that particular employee ID 3 is not present in target table and we want to insert it. This is how you can interpret it. Let me try to run this insert and one row got affected. Let's quickly check if that record got inserted or not. And here we can see that indeed the record of Sanjay, employee ID 3 has got inserted with start date as current date, end date as 999 and active flag as 1. Now we are remained with step number 2 and step number 3. That is to close the previous record and to open its corresponding record. So let's close the previous record using this update command. When I will run this command, what is my expectation? My expectation is when we will close this record, the end date of John, which was earlier 9999, it will get updated with the current date minus 1, which will be 30th of July 2023. And active flag will become 0 because we want to deactivate this particular record. So this is what we are doing. End date equal to sys date minus 1 and active flag is 0. Please remember, do not forget to include this condition. Otherwise, you will unnecessarily update extra records. Okay. So we have updated our record. Now quickly check. When I say updated, that means we have successfully closed the previous record and it got updated. Active flag also got updated. Now we need to insert its corresponding new record. So we have already discussed this query for that. Let me run this query and one record got inserted. Let's quickly check how our table look like now. So here you can see that John's first record has got closed and his second record has got opened. And rest of the two records, we already know about it. So this is how we implement SCD type 2, guys. I know that I have not explained the joins or these query in detail, but I'm assuming that by now you are already well aware of how join works. So that's why I have not gone into much detail over here. But the few things which you need to take care of is, for example, in this change record scenario or logic, you need to implement this condition very carefully. You need to include this condition where active flag is equal to 1 because we only want to compare those records in target which are active. And in order to check the change records, we need to compare each and every column because any column can get changed. Information of any column gets changed. If there is a change in at least one column, then that record is going to qualify as a change record. So these are the few things you need to take care of. And I will be sharing this script in the comment section. One last thing, guys, for this demo, I have used a generic SQL. That means it is not specific to SQL Server. You can use the same script in any relational database. Only this part can get changed where we were creating a temporary table. A syntax of creating a temporary table can get changed. Otherwise, the logic and all this query will remain same. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Now,